Where's your rah? I beat you to it. Oh, were you asleep, Dhiren?
Yeah.
Well, that was a nice cheesy way to start today's topic, sleep. So you got Ross and Dhiren, the man behind all the Musashi products, here today for Musashi R&D Sessions, and obviously Hal the Intern.
Greetings.
Or do you prefer Intern Hal?
Hal the Intern, for sure.
Hal the Intern. So sleep, really important topic.
Yeah, it's my favorite thing to do.
It's the single biggest performance. We were just talking before the podcast. It's the single biggest performance enhancer above everything else for sports performance, not just for sort of rest and recovery, but for improvement of skills, sports-related skills, for the brain.
For everything, you know.
Cardiovascular health.
You spend a third of your life asleep, but it's the big mystery. Nobody knows what goes on.
Yeah, it can severely impact things like strength and even injury prevention. So we'll look at sleep today. A lot of people are suffering from sleep deprivation.
Yeah, you know, it's a sign of the modern times, but also, you know, everybody's living a busy lifestyle.
And stressed out.
And, you know, some people think of sleep as a waste of time, you know. You're just sitting there doing literally nothing.
True.
Could be better things to do, but maybe we can change your mind after this because, you know, I think it's pretty important.
Yeah, we'll look at the importance of sleep, what's happening while we're asleep, and some tips to possibly help you to get asleep and stay asleep. And then after the topic, stick around because we'll cover some juicy sports news, some listener questions, and another quote from Japanese swordsman Miyamoto Musashi, your favourite part.
Yeah.
We have a new segment too that we'll finish off at the end that we'll introduce then.
Oh, shit. Cool. This is new, Hal. I'm excited.
Mm-hmm.
Sweet.
Okay.
So sleep. Why is sleep important?
Well, it's important for a lot of things. So, you know, I'm no expert on sleep, but I've been listening to a few podcasts, reading a few papers, read this pretty awesome book.
Matthew Walker.
Why We Sleep. I actually listened to the audiobook, but yeah.
Oh, you can't claim that as reading.
Dhiren can't read.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that makes sense.
Can't look at these words on the page and make sense out of them. But yeah, so, you know, sleep's important, and maybe we can look at it from an athletic perspective as well.
Definitely from an athletic perspective, but it is important for rest, recovery from sports, ability to absorb information and learn new skills related to your sport.
Yeah. Injury
prevention, as we just mentioned.
Yeah, so, you know, we always talk about the different elements of a sport, you know, your physical, your technical, you know, your skills, and also your mental and emotional. All of these three, you know, we say these three factors vary from sport and, you know, at different levels of sport. But sleep is important for all three, physical, mental, and even technical skills.
Yeah, it's true. And it's like you can look at training and nutrition independently, but sleep sort of, it does. It covers all aspects of sports performance.
And, you know, a lot of people focus a lot on diet and exercise, but sleep is something which you can control and can have as big, if not a bigger effect than diet and exercise.
You were mentioning before, it's almost become part of sort of male sort of culture, that ego. Macho-ness is who can get the least amount of sleep, who's up the earliest and doing the most throughout the day. You know, I'm running this company, I'm training 3 times a day, and I wake up at 3 a.m. I've only had 5 hours sleep. It's a silly mentality to have.
That sounds painful.
Yeah. Well, funny you say that, you know, like back in the day when I was at uni and, you know, like me and my study crew, we used to be like, oh, you slept 3 hours. That's cute. You know, like slept half an hour, kept studying. And literally that's what we were doing, you know, zombifying ourselves just to cram for exams. But now that I know a bit more about sleep, probably why is it to do the opposite?
Well, it is, and I've been guilty of that myself. Like I'm not someone that sleeps well and never has, and I have in the past prided myself on the amount of output that I've been able to achieve with very minimal sleep. But the more I find out about sleep, the more I think that's a really silly attitude to have. So it's making me focus on definitely doing some things to improve my sleep and getting more sleep. That's probably the biggest thing. It's first allowing the time, getting some more sleep, and then sleep quality comes next after that, I guess.
Yeah, and you know the whole macho aspect of getting a little sleep is ironic because you know higher sleep has been associated with better testosterone levels. So it's the most macho thing you can do.
Yeah, and I think I was reading something recently. Like if you're not getting we'll go into how much sleep you need, but even like 1 hour less than what you actually need can decrease your body's ability to produce testosterone by up to 10%. And it can actually age, or you can have comparable testosterone levels to someone that is actually 10 years older than you. So that's how sleep, that's how important sleep can be.
And that's only with 1 to 2 hours less sleep.
So you might, like if you're not getting enough sleep, Hal, you might have the same testosterone levels as an 18-year-old. You're, what, 8, 9?
Wait, what?
Exactly.
I thought you meant it goes the other way around. Like I'd have the same testosterone levels as someone who's 30.
Like Ross.
I was just insinuating that you're only 8 or 9 years old. Anyway,
sorry,
you get
that
younger
one
every
whoosh
episode, and I
right
get
over
older.
my head.
Yeah.
Ross would have the same testosterone levels as a 70-year-old.
Exactly. Should have used me as an example. So how much sleep do you need?
Well, everybody knows the rough approximate guidelines, and it's about 7 to 9 hours of sleep.
Yep.
But that's like, actually being asleep.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people go to their bed and, they're on their phone for maybe half an hour, reading some stuff, scrolling Instagram, whatever. And, you're counting that as your daily sleep. For me, it's pretty easy to track how much I sleep, because whenever I set an alarm, it tells you 8 hours and 45 minutes or whatever. Not that I ever sleep 8 hours and 45 minutes. But, yeah, so on average, 8 is the golden number. Everybody targets it. And, if you're asleep for 8 hours a day, it's definitely going to have a positive impact on your life and your physical performance.
And what's the average? What are people getting?
So I read something that in America, the average is about 6.5 hours of sleep.
And it seems like 6.5 people go, oh, that's enough to get by the next day. And I compare it, or I've heard it compared to like having 1 or 2 beers, like you don't really notice the impacts of having 1 or 2 beers. You don't feel drunk. You still think that I can do everything I would without any alcohol, but you're still impaired. It's still slowing. It's slowing your decision-making skills. It's affecting your ability to perform at the same level. It's the same with sleep. 1 hour less than what you should be getting, you might not notice the next day, depending on what you're doing. Athletes will definitely.
Yeah.
But
yeah. So it's funny you quote that. That study, it was actually an Australian study done at Flinders University. So they tested people on a concentration test, right? So they kept them awake for 20 hours, which isn't that unusual. It's just basically a late night. If you wake up
like
at
7 a.m. till what? Till when? When is that? It's like 3 a.m.?
Yeah, maybe like 3 a.m.
Yeah.
So it's not unusual. That might be a Friday night for a lot of people, right?
Yeah,
So,
true.
so you wake up at 3 a.m. They compared it to, being legally drunk, so 0.5. Well, I forgot, is alcohol concentration, right?
Level.
Your alcohol level, that would be considered, drink driving. And they did a concentration test, and it was pretty much equal.
it's crazy, and you see it on the roads as well. Like we all know the devastation that drinking and driving can have, but there's actually more vehicle-related incidents based on sleep deprivation.
Yeah, and we're saying that 6.5 is the average, but that means half of the population are getting less than 6.5, which is worrying.
That is very worrisome.
Yeah, it's crazy. And I was reading something else in relation to sort of the mental aspects of it. They looked at 2 different schools and different start times in the morning. Like some schools are sort of kicking off earlier and earlier to align with the working day of adults. So you might get schools that kick off at 7 or 7:30 in the morning, as opposed to schools that kick off at 9. The schools that are kicking off later are actually achieving higher grades, and they're having higher concentration levels. And I mean, it could come down to a variety of factors, but it's interesting. Like, kids are getting less and less sleep as well, and it's severely impacting what they're doing at school.
You need more sleep as a child as well.
100%.
Yeah, definitely. I think you need about 12 hours of sleep if you are under 6 or 7, which is quite a lot, So
That makes sense.
yeah.
What about
what time's your bedtime, Hal?
There you go. 7:30 with
depends which
big dog.
night.
Yeah. Can I stay up and watch this on TV?
I have to have a nap. I have to have a nap after play school every day at 3 p.m.
Yeah. Nah, Hal's probably up all night playing Fortnite. So.
Well, you can see, like, and sleep deprivation is huge. I think there was this, I heard this in a podcast as well. There was this radio DJ, that was trying to do the longest amount of time on air without sleeping. His aim was 8 days.
What?
I know. Imagine
Did he
that.
die?
He got two or 3 days in, and he was that sleep deprived that he started hallucinating.
Yeah.
But he was also he was displaying like psychotic behavior as well.
Yeah.
So like,
Well, do you know what these hallucinations are? Basically, your body has this need to sleep and consolidate your memories and consolidate your thoughts and learnings. And if you don't get this sleep, your body, this dream state, which is where all this is happening, spills out into real life. And then you're basically, walking around in a dream hallucinating.
there's some interesting stuff around that. What are the different sleep states? Do you know?
Yeah, so basically there are 2 types of sleep. Well, I guess, we talked about sleep quantity, 8 hours. But, the other aspect is sleep quality. Getting all of these different stages of sleep correctly. And, having a good quality of sleep means good REM sleep, rapid eye movement sleep, also known as dream sleep, and non-REM sleep. So
which comes first?
So non-rapid eye movement sleep comes first. It's interesting. So that there's 4 stages of non-REM sleep. REM sleep is where we dream. We actually also have some dreams in non-REM sleep. So stage 1 is kind of this transition from being awake to being asleep. Stage 2, things start to happen. Wait, I've got a little summary here because I'm no sleep expert. So let me read it out a bit more, so I don't make a mistake. Yeah, it's a period of light sleep before you enter this deep sleep. Your heartbeat and your breathing slow, your muscles relax even further, body temperature drops, and your eye movements stop. And then stage 3, non-REM sleep. So this is a period of deep sleep where you need to feel refreshed in the morning. And stage 4 is very similar, and this is where all these fascinating brain waves and things happen.
And some weird chemicals are released as well.
Yeah.
So you got like noradrenaline, acetylcholine that actually shut down the frontal cortex of the brain, and can actually shut down your your muscular system so that you're not moving at all. But they're also responsible for some.
Yeah, so that's it. That's in REM sleep. That's where the sleep paralysis occurs. So you actually get paralyzed in rapid eye movement sleep. It's so you don't enact your dreams out. So your limbs are literally paralyzed. So you're not like kicking and punching. You're jiu-jitsu. Imagine you having a dream about jiu-jitsu and you choke out your wife. Like
I often have that dream. Yep.
You're so lucky. Your limbs are paralyzed. So you're not actually doing anything.
Do you know how many times that I've been dreaming about basketball, and obviously haven't been that deep asleep, and I've jerked myself awake thinking I'm going for a jump shot?
Careful of the language you're using there when you jerk yourself awake. But
sorry, Dad.
But yeah, so when you're dreaming in the non-REM sleep, when you're not paralyzed, that's when you get these twitches and things like that. So
and things like that.
Oh,
if only we were playing the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so interesting, and I don't know if there's any science behind it, but some of the chemicals that are released in the brain are similar impact to some psychedelics and things like that you have as well. I just said and things like that.
Yeah.
And could that be causing any of these sort of lucid weird dreams, or is?
Yeah, well, a lot of things go on in your brain, and one of the functions is clearing out all these toxins that are in your brain, and one of these toxins, amyloid beta 42, is something that's responsible for Alzheimer's disease. So if you don't, clear out these toxins, and you've got these other things going on in there, it can cause all kinds of issues to your emotions, and your memories.
Say things like that. I'm waiting for it.
I'm trying not to. So it's funny. So REM sleep, this rapid eye movement sleep. Obviously, your eyes are moving, but your eyelids are closed. But they studied people over many years to figure out that your eyes are actually moving rapidly from side to side while you're asleep.
Really?
Yeah.
That's so weird.
So it's actually important for learning a lot of skills. So they looked at some mice, right? So they had these sensors on a mice, reading their brain waves and things like that.
Yes, got it.
And so these mice were going around this maze and then mapping their brain waves. Then during the sleep, the mice replicated what they did in this maze, to get the cheese or whatever. But it was happening 20 times faster
than what is actually happening in real life.
Yeah, so that's exactly what's happening. You're internalizing the things that you're learning in the day, and going over them rapidly, in this state, and that's where learning and memory consolidation occurs.
Which is super important for athletes, and I automatically think things like jiu-jitsu, which is a chess match with your body.
Yeah.
And you do, the amount of patterns that you're actually going through daily while you're training, you do repeat those patterns. Like I have had dreams like you about basketball, I've had dreams about jiu-jitsu, and you're going through all these sort of certain patterns. But yeah, it's super interesting.
Yeah, and in martial arts in particular, you want to move things from, conscious behaviors into your unconscious, so when you're in the situation, you don't even need to think about it. You want to, strangle somebody out. You know exactly where to shift your hips or whatever. It's the same in a lot of sports. When you're learning anything, for example, how to kick a soccer ball. You learn, you put your foot there, you kick the middle of the ball. And, when you're first doing it, you have to think about it, right? But eventually, it comes so naturally. And then eventually you're messy. You're not even thinking about putting it through somebody's legs and scoring a goal.
Is that your brain like setting patterns while you're asleep? Like
Yeah.
Is it sort of recapping what you've done while you're awake and setting these as like neurological patterns or something?
Yeah, exactly like that. So, Hal, you only recently learned how to tie your shoe. But, obviously,
He still uses little Velcro straps.
No comment.
with a YouTube video. But, obviously everybody remembers it. It was really hard. Tying your shoe was super hard. But now it's so automatic that, you just, and it's done.
Yeah, you don't even think about it.
Yeah, and a lot of things that you learn, transition into this, subconscious mindset.
It's crazy. Do you dream about tying your shoelaces still, or?
Every time I start a new job, I have weird dreams about it, to be honest.
Yeah, interesting. Dreams are really interesting, and some people don't dream, think they don't dream much, but you are dreaming, but a lot of people don't remember their dreams. Yeah.
Is that because like the frontal cortex shuts down basically while you're in that deep sleep?
I don't know enough about
because that's the part that's required for sort of learning and memory and.
Well, that's what your frontal cortex does, but out of all the papers I've ever done in my life, neuroscience was definitely the hardest one. It's the brain is still the great mystery of what happens, and there are these chemicals. You can see a few things. Even like the physiology of it. It's still a mystery. There's a lot in your brain yet to be discovered, and I guess that's one of the theories that are out there.
That part of the brain is also the last part of the brain to develop. Like as a child, or as you're growing up, it's the last part of the brain to develop, and that's why they say sort of when you are in this sort of reduced state of you haven't got as much sleep as what you need. That part of the brain can actually be sort of impaired, so it impairs your decision-making skills. You can get silly and giddy like you do, like you display like childlike behavior.
Yeah, and kids don't actually experience REM sleep to the same extent as adults. It takes a while before you develop these proper sleeping cycles, and the two types of sleep that we just talked about. That's why your frontal cortex develops later, in relation to this.
Okay, we've talked about how much sleep you need and the different sort of states of sleep. Is there like an optimal time that you need to go to sleep and wake up in the morning?
I think the main thing is consistency, right?
That's what I
thought. If you wake up and sleep at the same time every day, this is your circadian rhythm. Your body's adjusted to this, and everybody knows this. If you've ever been overseas, you've experienced jet lag, especially I'm from South Africa, right? It's a 12-hour time difference, which is literally the worst you can get. So whenever I go there, first week, I'm waking up, in the middle of the night. I'm like wide awake because, your body's trained to produce melatonin, right? Melatonin's obviously, the key sleep signaling molecule. It puts you to sleep. But your body produces it on cue, right? Typically, what causes your body to do that is light. Right, light and temperature. So, it's light in the day, dark at night. Your body will start producing melatonin. But then, when you get into a new environment, you're still confused and you still got this lag. So, it takes a while to adjust.
So, should we be going to bed basically a little bit after dark and rising with the sun in the morning, or? Well,
that's how hunter-gatherers do it. I heard
it's pretty unrealistic, though, isn't it?
Pretty unrealistic.
Convenient.
Remember, why it's called midnight? Because it's meant to be the middle of the night.
And that's crazy. Like we classify midnight now as like, we should probably get to bed an hour or so before
that's the
midnight.
beginning of the night. Yeah.
What time do you get to sleep?
I've been better lately since all this COVID stuff. But it used to be sort of 11, 12 o'clock at night, and I'd be up early. But now I'm aiming to get to bed by 9:30, 10.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I felt so much better for it.
I agree. I'm pretty consistently like 11 till 7. I used to be pretty erratic with uni, all over the place. But
Isn't that weird, though, to think, like, people don't even think what midnight means.
Yeah.
It literally does mean the middle of the night. But it's
midday
not.
as well. Midday is like, oh, I'm 3 hours into work. It's not halfway through the day.
Well,
No.
but it's kind of like more viewed as the middle of the
It
day
is.
than midnight is the middle of the night.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm about 11 to 6:30. I get about 7.5 hours.
Yep.
Oh,
So we
yeah,
should be
you
sort
beat
of
me.
regularity, trying to get to bed at the same time and waking up at the same time on most days.
Yeah, and your circadian rhythm is so important. This is you release hormones, your stress hormones and things at different times in relation to this. It's not just sleep. Your body is, they call it a body clock for a reason.
Yeah.
I've got a question. When
Yep.
was the last time either of you went? Oh, sorry. What's the longest amount of time you've gone without sleep?
I went a solid 5 years without sleep when my kids were first born. So I've probably pulled one, like an all-nighter. That's it.
Yeah, same. When was that?
A long time ago,
Yeah.
back in the 40s. No.
Back in the uni days, I used to really get some sleep deprivation going. Exam time, which is probably the worst time to do it. We used to sleep, an hour.
That's shocking.
2 hours.
But sleep is more valuable than any cramming you can do.
It is, but it's the quantity of stuff you have to read, and it's the
True.
It's the productivity in the next day as well. You're cramming for a potential exam the next day, and if you're sleep deprived, your ability to recall that information is severely impaired anyway.
Yeah. One of the funniest things.
Unlike Dhiren, don't be a crammer.
You become a procrastinator as well, because you actually don't focus on the tasks at hand. You want to do the easiest things when you're sleep deprived.
Yeah.
And funny story. One day we were in the library, me and my mate, and we were like both zombies from not sleeping for like a couple of days. And we look at the shelves and this bright pink book on this random level. I think it was like the geography section. It said modern techniques for information retention. We're like, what the hell is this? So then we're like, we should read that book. And we're like, it's a big book. Then we just like, how many pages do you think that is? So we got it off to see who was right. We opened the book. There's energy drinks inside, and it's like, congratulations. It was like some promotional thing. I was like, what?
That's huge.
Yeah, and it turns out it was like all over the library. It was pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's a great
smart.
marketing play. What's the most you've gone without sleep, Hal?
Probably just from 7 a.m. till, far out. I've gone, the biggest I've done is one night without sleep, and then the next night, like 6 hours.
And how trashed are you the next day? Like
I felt awesome.
Oh, did you?
I was falling apart, but I had the best 2 nights, and that's
you
all
would
I
have
could
had a
think
great
about.
time.
Exactly. But that
Like-
it was painful, like staying up all night and then having basketball at 11 a.m. I couldn't see the ring. Like I was just exhausted.
There's probably a lot of I don't know if there's parents that actually listen to this podcast, but there's like, if there is, they'll be killing us right now. There's nothing like sleep deprivation over a period of years. Like we're talking, we miss one day here, and then you can catch up or whatever. Well, that's another point I want to bring out. Can you catch up? But if you deprive yourself of sleep every night and it's broken for years and years and years as your kids are going through that infant stage, that is devastating.
Yeah.
The amount of weight I put on when my kids were that age, just through sleep deprivation, nothing changed. My activity didn't change. My diet didn't really change. But just through sleep deprivation, the impact that it had on weight gain was phenomenal.
Yeah,
and the minute I started getting like more sleep again, the weight came back down, the body fat levels came back down, and I thought, oh, this is like this direct correlation here.
Yeah, well, there is a link between appetite and sleep as well.
Yeah,
Yes.
ghrelin hormone or something. Do you know anything about that?
Yeah, so there's two hormones that are important for your your appetite, leptin and ghrelin. Leptin actually signals you to be full, and ghrelin signals you to be hungry. Right? What a lack of sleep does, it actually increases the levels, decreases the levels of leptin. So actually the satiety hormone. So it actually makes you feel full less. but also increases the levels of ghrelin, which makes you feel hungry more. So so typically, if you're sleep deprived, I think if you're about 2 hours sleep deprived, you are likely to eat about 300 calories more in the day.
Really?
And it's not only that; you actually tend to, have a preference for sweeter and more, carbohydrate-rich foods.
Is that because you're just making up for the amount of energy that you haven't regained through sleep?
I don't know. My theory is that it has to do with your neurotransmitters. If you have sufficient, serotonin and tryptophan, I think we talked about it on the fat loss episode. That's been shown to reduce carbohydrate cravings.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think it's directly related. And tryptophan becomes serotonin, which becomes melatonin. So the link is easy.
Yeah.
So can you catch up on sleep?
No. So everything I've read, there's no sleep bank.
No.
You can't sleep 1 hour, and then sleep the whole of Saturday and expect your average weekly sleep to be okay. It's something that you need to do on the regular.
What about if you have a nap the next day?
Napping's interesting. I was reading something on this as well. It's a lot of people attribute to that sort of mid-afternoon crash in energy to, I don't know, I haven't eaten the right foods, or I might have eaten too many carbs and I'm feeling sleepy at sort of 2, 3 p.m. But apparently, genetically, biologically, we are designed that we naturally get sleepy at that time, regardless of whether we're eating the right foods or not. And we are designed to have a little nap around that time in the afternoon. So
yeah, it's called a postprandial dip.
Is it? Yes.
Yeah.
There you go. There's the science.
Yeah, also known as 3:30itis. But yeah, everybody tends to fade away. And it's ironic. Last week we did the the mindset and motivation podcast, and it was the first time we did it in the afternoon.
I know.
And out of all the podcasts we needed to be motivated for, probably that one we were the least.
And we did it at that exact time. And
Yeah.
and it's funny how there is correlation there. And people attribute it to diet, or I need a snack at that time. But it's actually, no matter what you do, it's a naturally occurring thing.
I used to love a nap. I used to nap almost every day. I had to train myself. One of the few things I got out of lockdown, training myself out of napping.
Well, that's the Australian culture doesn't really allow for, but there's plenty of places in the world where you'll break for have lunch and then you have a nap straight after.
Yeah, a good old siesta.
Yeah.
Ideally, you'd be able to have a 3-hour break in the middle of the day to eat, nap, wake yourself up, and then get back to work for another few hours.
That would make sense, and I think the productivity you get after that, I don't think, like, if you wouldn't want to sleep for 3 hours, but maybe like a...
No, but have a 3-hour break between work and work.
Yep.
Yeah.
That'd be ideal. But yeah, that would involve...
Dhiren has an 8-hour break every day at work.
Yeah.
What does he do in that break?
My sleep is important.
These products don't make themselves. He dreams these products
I'm
up.
just trying to be more productive. Let me sleep.
If I have a day off for uni, sometimes I'll do that. Like if I'm really cramming, there's always a nap in the middle of the day.
Yeah.
How can you tell if you're getting enough sleep? So obviously some people need more sleep than others. And I've met people that just can't survive off 7 hours sleep. They're trash the next day.
Yeah.
Whereas some people say, I'm fine on 6 hours. Obviously they feel fine. They're probably impaired. But how can you tell?
Yeah. Well, actually, there's actually less than... Some people do have, a genetic, allowance that allows them to function on less sleep. But this is, less than 1% of the population. And, because we just said this, everybody thinks, oh, that's me.
Yeah.
But it's apparently a very, very low number. And, almost everybody needs this minimum of 7 hours to function correctly.
There's some cool watches and things like that. Far out.
Yeah.
What has happened?
You've got to stop saying that.
Yeah, there's some cool watches and sleep trackers, and also heart rate variability trackers that can actually sort of take all of those things into account and give you like a recovery score each morning. And I guess this relates more to athletes. It's if you've sort of only got 5-6 hours sleep and the next day you're not feeling like you should train, it might indicate that your recovery score is fairly low. So if you are going to train that day, it might be some lighter activity, or it might be a recovery style session as opposed to one of your all-out strength sessions or a hard cardiovascular session.
Yeah.
So I know like these Whoop watches, and they track all this sort of recovery.
Yeah, you can even get
rates.
some apps on your phone, and the microphone you put it next to your bed. The microphone on your phone will, measure your breathing and things.
And things.
Yeah, while you're sleeping.
I reckon from now on, whenever you guys say that, I'm going to quiz you. When you say things like that, name any other thing like that.
Okay.
Things like what?
Have you ever done those put the phone next to your bed and actually recorded it?
Nah, I haven't.
Do it.
Oh.
You make some weird sound. I've done it before. You make some weird. I make weird sounds during the night. It's like, you wake up in the morning and think, what was going on there?
Yeah. No.
Don't you do it, Hal? I don't want to hear sounds coming out of your room.
Is this a chimpanzee?
Have you seen, actually, there are some really cool little products you can get which are like alarm clocks, and they won't stop going off. Like there's one where it'll throw like a puzzle across the room and it won't stop going off until you get out of bed, get all the pieces and put it back in.
I would smash that machine.
Yeah.
Should we be setting alarms, or should we be ideally?
That's a good question.
Should we just wake up naturally when our body wants to wake up?
In an ideal world, you would wake up. Your circadian rhythm would allow you to wake up at that same time every day. But I don't want to be late for work, so I set an alarm clock.
Yeah, well, you need to.
Do you both use an alarm to wake up?
I set 8 alarms basically.
Really?
He's that guy.
Yeah.
I used to, and now I wake up at the same, regardless of what time I go to sleep. I wake up at the same time every morning.
That's ideal.
Wow.
But that's like old guy thing.
Yeah.
Like that's what happens to old. Like that was my dad. Regardless of, on the Sundays, he'd still wake up at like 5:30.
But that's if you're not doing anything. Like that's if you're not going to bed super, super late.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if I go out, have a few drinks or something, I'll
A few.
I definitely need to set an alarm. Others, I'll just sleep
Yeah.
till midday. Or later.
Yeah, and that can impact when your ability to get to sleep the following night as well. Like if you're sleeping in till midday,
Yeah.
you're gonna struggle to get to bed at like 9 or 10 o'clock that night.
Yeah.
I'm a bad sleeper, so my mind races, and I need to do a lot of things as far as improving my ability to just switch off.
I'm the same though.
But that's one of the reasons that I'm heavily into sport. Is I need to completely exhaust myself physically and even mentally to give myself a good chance of getting a good night's sleep. And if I don't, if I don't do any activity for the day, there's a good chance I'm wired at nighttime.
Yeah, interesting. So exercise and sleep. Now, it's actually a two-way relationship. More sleep makes you better at exercise, and more exercise makes you have a better sleep. Well, not necessarily if too much might affect it, right? But there's a number of reasons. Exercise increases your endorphins, right? And if you have a good, brain chemistry, healthy endorphins and neurotransmitters floating around, you're likely to, fall asleep into these different stages much better. Also, we'll touch on it soon, but exercise actually increases your core body temperature. So while you're exercising, your body temperature lifts, and then 60 to 90 minutes after that, your body temperature dips, which actually makes you sleepy. And one of the things that causes you to sleep is the temperature gradient. We talked about light and we talked about temperature. This temperature drop actually makes you sleepy.
So what temperature should we be aiming for when we sleep? It's probably different for everyone, but it's like to get to sleep, you actually need to induce like a degree or so colder than...
Yeah, exactly. So it's... they say, when it's colder, it's much easier to fall asleep because, the temperature gradient, the drop at night is a lot larger in winter. So I think it's really the drop rather than the absolute temperature that's going to make you fall asleep. And, this is why you feel sleepy after swimming, because your body's immersed in water, which is different temperature from your body. So your core body temperature is changing. And, when you get out of the water, you had this temperature gradient from your core, to the extremities. And that's why you feel sleepy after taking a swim.
So how do you replicate that just before you go to bed at night?
Easy. Just have a hot shower,
Hot shower.
Yeah.
So if you have a hot shower, what happens is, you vasodilate and all your blood flow goes to the surface of your body, moving the blood away from your core. So your core actually cools down after a hot shower, even though your skin might feel hot. So, it's dropping this core body temperature, not the extremities. Another way to do that is, to put on socks. I always used to sleep with socks because, your feet are warm, so the blood is going to your feet rather than your core, and that also helps you to fall asleep.
That's Sorry, a trait of a psychopath, sleeping with socks on.
Yeah, well, call me psycho. But yeah, it's this temperature gradient. So if you go from a hot shower into a cold bed, this temperature gradient, you should fall asleep pretty quickly. That's a pretty cool hack. Yeah, a couple other hacks.
Yep.
Should we get into them? Okay, so
Temperature, light.
So light's really important. This is what's causing your body to release melatonin, right? This day-night cycle. One thing, everybody kind of knows not to put too much lights on at night now. Don't be on your screen all night. Don't have all the lights in your house on all night, because you're not getting ready for this sleep cycle that you.
The light one's interesting because what screws me? Daylight savings.
Yeah.
Just that 1 hour change in, I don't know whether that's circadian rhythm or the being lighter at a different time of night. It screws me up for probably over a month until I'm able to sort of retrain those sleeping patterns.
When's the next daylight savings?
It's coming up soon.
But what's interesting about that is, sleep has a massive impact on your cardiovascular health. So how big this impact is. They looked at average cardiovascular incidence, right? And in daylight savings, the one where you get 1 hour less sleep, which is spring. The incidence of cardiovascular events went up by 24%. We'll link the study, right?
Really?
Heart attacks, you mean, heart-related?
Heart-related issues.
Yep.
That's just in 1 hour, right? Making this 1 hour difference made such a big difference. On the other side, in autumn, when we gained an extra hour of sleep, cardiovascular incidence dropped by about 20%.
So, yeah.
21%. So it's pretty crazy that there's a direct link, with even this 1 hour difference in sleep. And, it comes, it has a lot to do with, this changing circadian rhythm and, your blood pressure.
So all this becomes super important, especially for people training.
Yeah.
A question that I get a lot is I train at night, right? And I use pre-workout supplements. And I find that when I get home, and even people that don't use pre-workout supplements, you can be wired from a workout. And I know after a heavy leg session, if I train at night, I feel like my central nervous system is almost just over heightened, and I really struggle to wind down on leg and back days. But even more so if you've had a pre-workout at 5-6 o'clock at night when most people train in the gym.
Yeah.
What can we do to?
Well, maybe there's two parts to this question. So one, caffeine and sleep, right? So we know caffeine's good for keeping you alert, keeping you focused, and some people, the guys that operate on 5 and 6 hours worth of sleep, I don't know any stats, but I'm pretty sure all of these guys are caffeine junkies. And, I have plenty of coffee as well, but I also get good sleep. So, caffeine, really addresses all the symptoms of sleep deprivation, fatigue, lack of focus. So it's very useful if you are sleep deprived. But these are just the surface symptoms, right? The next part of the question is, if I have caffeine, how's it going to affect my sleep? And, that's all these guys that are taking pre-workout too late at night. And the thing is, there's a big variability between people and their ability to process and tolerate caffeine.
There is big variance. Some people can handle lots, some people can't handle.
I can have, double scoop of pre-workout at, 7 p.m. and go to sleep at 11 p.m. like a baby. Yeah.
You are a psychopath, aren't you?
Yeah.
Jesus.
Socks has pre-workouts at 7 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Jesus, yeah. I wish I was you.
Yeah, I didn't even tell you about the sleepwalking yet.
So the sweet sleep lifting.
And look, I would always recommend use pre-workout sparingly, especially late at night. But there is, we do have a product to sort of counteract the effects of that, which is, again, you could just use it on those nights that you are going to, wow, shameless plug, nighttime aminos. Quick 30-second description of this product, Dhiren.
Yeah, so this is a blend of amino acids and herbal extracts that, promotes, a better quality of sleep and ability to get you to sleep. So, there's passion flower and ziziphus, which are herbs that, make you, calm you down and make you fall asleep a bit better. one of the key amino acids in there is the simplest amino acid, glycine, right? It's pretty potent stuff. And what it does is it actually, decreases your sleep latency. So they studied this. 3 grams of glycine decreases your time to fall asleep. It also increases your quality of sleep. And, how it does this is that glycine, it's such a simple amino acid. It actually binds to some of these excitatory, receptors, neurotransmitter receptors. And so instead of, your exciting neurotransmitters binding to these receptors like a lock and key, glycine goes there in place, and then, they don't excite you as much and, causes you to fall asleep. So it's glycine, a few other amino acids in there, and, some magnesium and zinc. So everything you need for a good night's sleep.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Shameless plug there.
Shameless plug. But back to light, actually, there's vitamin D3 in here as well. Mm-hmm. Vitamin D is super important for getting to sleep. The best way to actually get vitamin D is through the sunlight. And, we talked about avoiding light at night. Another good thing is to maximize sun exposure during the day because, it's the other end of the equation. If you're getting plenty of light in the day and keeping it dark at night, that's also training your circadian rhythm to help you fall asleep. And, this is observed in places like Alaska, when they have those like 20-hour days and things. Yeah, they have massive sleep issues over there. So they actually have fake sleep machines, fake light machines to generate light in their houses on a regular rhythm.
Yeah, I don't know how I'd go there. I've got family that are from Finland, and it's the same certain times of the year that the sun doesn't go down till midnight or close to it. But they must sleep through in the morning to make up for it. I don't know, but
yeah, I remember when I went to Queenstown in New Zealand in summer. It's quite low south, right? So the sun sets close to 11 p.m. In the peak of summer, which is pretty late, right?
What time does it come up?
Before I woke up.
he doesn't know, actually. So tips for sleep, you've got sort of regularity, you've got minimize sort of light before sleep, you've got temperature drop, creating that either artificially or through hopping into a cold bed or hot shower, whatever.
Yeah, and I think, those are the 3 main things, regularity, light, and temperature.
What about staying off your phone? That probably comes down to light as well.
That's blue light as well.
Actually...
But that's mind stimulation as well.
So that's one of the theories. They don't know. They tested people on iPads versus, people reading a book. And, reading an iPad, for some reason, this is a Harvard study, for some reason affected your sleep way more than reading from a book. But, more recent research kind of suggested that they're not sure if it's actually from the light or if it's actually from the, the stimulation of using these devices.
Different stimulation coming in, whereas a book, it's sort of constant.
Yeah, my hack to fall asleep is read a book. Like, that's what I do.
What do you do? Read a book?
I'm always on the laptop, but I read a book for at least 10 minutes after.
And how long does it take you guys to get to sleep?
Depends.
Yeah,
I won't tell you what I do to get to sleep.
Yeah, I think everyone knows that that's
No, okay, I will tell you. It's breathing. I do sort of some breathing work.
Oh, nice.
That's not what I was expecting.
You got a filthy mind, Hal.
I'm a teenager.
Don't picture me doing stuff like that. That's breathing patterns. So I've got apps on my phone that I go through sort of some breathing techniques, and I use that on nights where I'm struggling to get to sleep. That seems to help.
Yeah.
It's learning to shut off your mind and just focus on your breathing can be
having the same routine as well.
Yeah.
Shower, bit of TV, book, easy.
Alcohol has a big impact on sleep quality too, doesn't it?
Yeah, everybody talks about a nightcap.
Helps you get to sleep, but decreases the quality of sleep, right?
Exactly. So what it specifically decreases are these deep stages of sleep. So your non-REM sleep, stages 3 and 4, these get deeply affected by alcohol and even weed. A lot of people, we don't like to talk about drugs on this podcast, but a lot of people in this part of the world do smoke some weed at night, and they think it's helping them to fall asleep. It might actually help you fall asleep, but it might affect your quality of sleep, and you're not actually falling into this good level, this good deep state of sleep to do all these different functions. And you need all of these different stages of sleep for sleep really to have its best benefits. And there's some good examples about this. If you've ever been on like a bender weekend, drinking Friday to Monday, like I'm sure Hal has experienced in his university days.
I don't know what you're talking about.
But anyway, after that, once you start coming back into your regular sleep pattern, it's actually almost like you've been sleep deprived. And when you use sedatives like alcohol to fall asleep, you tend not to dream because you're sedated, right? And you're not falling into these correct dream states. So when you do fall asleep properly for the first time, you tend to have crazy dreams.
So it sort of overproduces these chemicals that are making you dream.
Yeah. So you have this because
So it stunts it and then it overproduces it as a compensation.
Yeah, and what they say dreams are. I heard a good analogy.
It's the aliens talking to us while we're asleep, isn't it?
Well, that's what I always thought. But then it's actually
Probably did.
A light bulb, right? A light bulb's function is to produce light, but as a consequence, it also produces heat, right? So they say dreams are the heat produced by your memory consolidations and all this beneficial things that are happening in your mind. Well,
So it could just be like a side effect of sleep.
yeah, and we know every single animal needs sleep. There's no animals that we know of that don't need sleep, but there are some that don't dream.
Really?
Yeah.
Jellyfish.
We're the
Jellyfish? Well, actually, it's all fish and all reptiles. They don't actually have REM sleep. There's rapid eye movement sleep. It's just mammals and birds that tend to have rapid eye movement sleep. And we know every animal needs sleep, but every animal needs different amounts of sleep.
Yeah, it's true.
An elephant needs 4 hours of sleep a day. A lion needs 15 hours of sleep.
Really?
And a lot of them split their sleep up. You watch a dog, they're asleep, then they're awake, then they're asleep, then they're awake.
And sea mammals and fish, they can actually fall half asleep, so half of their brain is still awake. Because if you fall into, we just talked about, you get paralyzed during REM sleep. As a fish, you could drown because you still need some parts of your brain to
Fish
function.
can't drown. How do fish drown?
Fish can drown.
We are the only species on the planet that consciously restricts sleep. We'll set an alarm or we'll say we need to get up at this. There's no other species on the planet that actually forcefully restricts their own sleep.
Yeah, and it's crazy. Evolutionarily, if sleep wasn't important, it would have been, we would have, naturally selected out of sleep. Sleep is so important that every single animal still has it. And it's interesting, how I just said fish and mammals tend to not fall asleep correctly. We also have a similar built-in mechanism that, if you're not sleeping in your own bed, you tend to not fall asleep to the same degree. It's a threat detection mechanism. This is why people are always tired on holidays.
So like if you go to a hotel for the night, because you're at this different state of threat, something might happen, you're not falling as deep asleep.
Exactly. So you're sleeping in a new bed and, you might not be as familiar with the environment.
Could just be the thought of sleeping in a bed that 3,000 other people have slept in. That's pretty seedy.
It could be, but, you see this beautiful, nice, comfortable bed and, the Shangri-La or wherever it is.
Yeah.
And you wake up and you feel like you didn't have a proper night's sleep. It's because, there's this threat detection mechanism. You're vulnerable when you sleep. As an animal, you can get eaten. Except you're a lion, you sleep 15 hours a day. Nobody wants to eat a lion, right?
Yeah.
But so, you have this built-in threat detection mechanism. And that's why, after a holiday, after a weekend away, you feel so tired when you come back.
Yeah, it's true.
It's not because, you've missed sleep. Well, you probably did a little bit. So it's just compounding it. But it's this, you're not falling into this deep level of sleep. And that's, for me, I know whenever I come back from a holiday, I have crazy dreams because I'm getting back into these deep levels of sleep.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Shout out to the sponsors, Shangri-La of the podcast. No, I'm just kidding.
But, another interesting thing is in athletics. This is so widespread. Think of the Olympics. Everybody's living in a village.
I know.
It's a new environment. You think about almost every single, sport at a high level where you're playing away. Home and away is an advantage, but, there's a bigger advantage, a home court advantage because you're in your own bed.
It's funny because you always see like the host nation of the Olympics, their medal tally gets considerably higher than what it is if it's an away country. So there's maybe it is sleep related.
It could be, and there's also nervousness before before a big event. You've got this nervousness, your sleep's being impacted, and luckily everybody's in the same boat.
It could be all the other stuff that goes on in the Olympic Village as well. But
yes, a lot of sleep deprivation going on over there.
Anything else you want to add on sleep before we wrap it up and jump into some listener questions?
Yeah. So basically, the three big things about athletic performance. Your physicality, your mental aspect, and your technical aspect. We talk about those mice learning the maze. That's like learning any technical skill. Physicality.
Recovery.
Your muscles don't grow at the gym. Muscles grow when you're asleep. So it's the most important thing. For muscle repair, muscle recovery, and mentally, sleep has a massive effect on your emotions and your mental health overall.
Yep, and your motivation levels.
Exactly,
like
and I think we talked about it on the mental health episode. That if you're getting a poor sleep, it's gonna mess with your emotions.
Look, yeah, it's super important.
Yeah, and when you wake up in the morning, you can't even make a fist correctly. You're not.
I sleep like that,
Yeah.
ready to go.
Yeah. See, lucky again that you get paralyzed.
I've done that when what is that thing when you're first falling asleep and you go all flinchy? The amount of times I've whacked my missus in the face. I apologise. I don't do this on purpose, but yeah, I get like real flinchy and sometimes I hit the missus.
Well, I actually experienced a similar thing, but it's because
don't use that as the soundbite. Sometimes I hit the missus. Do not use that as the.
No, it was sometimes I whack the missus.
Far out.
Well, I'll actually tell you a funny story about a crazy example, right? There's this guy that suffered from sleepwalking, right? And for years he suffered from sleepwalking, and then one day he sleepwalked to his mother-in-law's house and killed her.
What?
Yeah, and then he woke up covered in blood, driving back home, and then the jury acquitted him because he had this crazy history of sleepwalking in America.
That happens a lot to people using sleeping pills and things like that. Things like that.
Yeah.
Sleeping pills and other medications and stuff.
Amino acids.
No, that way.
Yeah.
But that comes up a lot.
Yeah.
And a lot of people that are using sleeping pills, they'll jump on social media and they'll make outlandish comments and they'll wake up the next day with no memory of what they've said.
Yeah, there's a South Park episode about that.
Yeah, it's almost like an artificial way of sleeping. It's probably not. I know it helps some people, but you should probably investigate.
I hate them.
Yeah, and sleep is so important that that same study you talked about where they're comparing kids, the kids that were sleep deprived had the symptoms of ADD. All the symptoms of ADD. Inability to focus and stuff.
It's spot on. Like the cases of children being diagnosed with ADHD or ADD or whatever it is, a lot of them probably could be linked to lack of sleep.
Potentially. And, like all these medications like Ritalin, they just, think about what they do. They just make you focus and they just make you, they basically treat the symptoms of sleep deprivation.
So many of those sleep medications are used for not sleeping.
Yeah.
Like people staying focused and there's a whole heap of stuff in like Silicon Valley in the US. All these tech nerds are just on it constantly.
Oh, like modafinil and
Adderall and just
Daffs.
Yeah. But well, even uni students that are sleep deprived, I know a story of a guy back in NZ. They got arrested for selling Ritalin during exam time. He was just trying to help people study, but
a lot of them are used recreationally as well. Like
It's
they
crazy.
have a completely different effect when you drink with them.
That's insane.
Yeah, but anyway, let's not go there.
No.
But yeah, athletic performance, so important for every aspect of it. Get a good sleep.
That's it. Good summary. Listener questions, Hal?
Lovely. One from Jono Timms who asks...
G'day Jono.
Love a good Jono.
Jono.
Which is the most important meal of the day?
Ooh.
Well, if you cast your mind back to what we always talk about, the pyramid of nutrition. The base of your pyramid is, macronutrient balance. Above that is, your protein, carbs, and fat. Above that is micronutrients. And, timing is higher up in the... I would say your post-workout meal is the most important meal of the day. And it's important to get, a good amount of protein in there. So whether you work out in the morning, work out in the evening, that post-workout meal is the most important, in my opinion.
I would agree. I would 100% agree with that. I was finding that hard to answer because I'm like, every meal is important. But yeah, if you were to choose one most important meal, it's either the pre or the post-workout meal.
I know you two would disagree with this, but I would say breakfast. I personally can't operate without food in the morning.
And I get it comes down to the person as well. And Dhiren's gone through stages of intermittent fasting and performing at a high level in the gym without breakfast.
Yeah, and this time last year I was in Bali and I got pretty shredded using intermittent fasting. And it depends. Most important meal of the day. Define that. Are you trying to lose weight? Are you trying to bulk up? Are you if you want to gain muscle mass, you want to have amino acids available throughout the day. So you actually should be consuming food.
Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, no, but if you're trying to shred down, intermittent fasting is a good way. Time restriction is a good form of calorie restriction.
I would say outside of that workout timing, breakfast would be important. You've just gone 8 or 9 hours, however long you sleep, without any sort of nutrition whatsoever. So yeah, I would agree with you in that regard, Hal.
Yeah,
lovely. And another question from Liv Hudson, who asks, how much water is too much to consume over the course of one day?
Probably depends on your body size and how much muscle you carry as well.
Yeah. I don't actually know the answer to that.
Depends probably how much you're sweating as well.
Yeah.
You don't want to overconsume water, that's for sure. People have died from overconsuming water.
You drown.
Yeah. Well, and you're just flushing out all these key essential minerals and whatnot, but you don't want to underconsume either, because the state of dehydration can affect everything from sports performance to sleep to recovery to everything.
Yeah.
How much do you drink a day?
I drink one of those big 2.4 liter Musashi jugs per day. I think you've got one over there.
How many? Well, this one.
Yeah.
I drink 3 of those easily.
Yeah.
3.
So much water.
In a day. I would say that's probably too much.
Yeah, I'd say that's probably a lot. Really? But, if you're playing basketball, you're probably sweating a lot as well. So, a lot of people sweat different amounts. So if you're losing a lot through sweat, make sure you have enough electrolytes and you have sufficient water to stay hydrated. Luckily, your body has a magic way of regulating your water intake. It's called thirst. So if you drink to thirst, that's typically sufficient for most sports.
It's the same way you introduced appetite a while ago. I like that.
I know. Your body's full of magic.
As a guide, 2.5 to 3 liters a day, pending?
I think so. I'd say so.
Well, then what happens if you drink too much? You're just saying you're flushing out all these.
You just go to the toilet a lot and you can't get anything else done. No, probably you're flushing out all those. But so if you are like a person that sweats a lot and you do have a strong appetite, like thirst appetite, make sure you're getting electrolytes and some of those other key minerals that you need.
Yeah, Hal's thirsty.
different type of thirsty, I think. Any other listener questions, or is that it?
That's all for this week.
So what are we doing now? Some quotes, or do you want to get sports
news?
Sports news.
Lovely.
Yeah, let's get into it.
Excellent. We'll kick it off with I think everyone's heard about this so far. This is Djokovic has defaulted from the US Open for hitting a referee with the ball. You think it's funny?
I loved it.
Yeah.
I thought it was hilarious.
When I first saw it, I first saw the headline, I was like, oh, this sounds bad. But, watching the video, it doesn't look that bad. And I think the official did make a bit of it.
She milked it. So now
the look she was giving him, my lord.
She obviously wasn't a Djokovic fan. Yeah. I think why I laughed is because I know she's all right.
Yeah.
Like if that ball hit her and she had brain trauma or something, I wouldn't be laughing.
It would be a different story for sure.
He didn't hit it that hard, and she milked it. And then the devil looks that she was giving him, there was something more there. I felt like she just didn't like him.
Yeah. One of the cool things...
He's not very well liked.
Nah. One of the cool things I saw was, Nick Kyrgios put up a poll.
Immediately after.
Yeah, and he's like, if I did the same thing, how many years would I be banned for? And, it's funny because, people persecute him for no reason. He's such a cool guy.
The Australian media are ruthless. That's probably why. Yeah. But, I just thought that was hilarious. Did he deserve to get canned from that?
I think it's a rule. I think it's a rule.
It is a rule. He didn't do it on purpose.
But he also took it on the chin. He didn't argue too much.
She took it in the throat. So.
But, before that, he whacked it even harder into the crowd. And, that didn't hit anybody. And,
was there anyone there?
No. So, luckily. But, back a few years ago, one of the reporters asked him, if you do this, because he threw his racket and broke his racket.
On Twitter, yeah.
The reporter asked him, if you do this one day, this outburst, and you hit somebody, what kind of consequences will there be? And he's just like, that's ridiculous. That'll never happen. Stupid question.
It's they get passionate out there on the court.
Yeah, karma's a bitch.
Yeah, and it happens. It's happened so many times in tennis. Look how many times they've thrown their racket on the court. It's bound to bounce up and hit someone in the face one day.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I love it though. anything that adds theatre to that sport, I like.
That's what they need a bit of.
I think they need some personalities.
Yeah.
That's why I'm a big fan of like guys like Kyrgios and all those. I like the
John
good-
McEnroe.
Yeah. Adds a bit of personality to the sport.
I like the Reggie Miller you just did before.
What else you got, Hal?
Japan has welcomed fans back into sporting arenas, but they're forbidden from singing and chanting.
The Japanese crowd, are they renowned for singing and chanting anyway?
They are.
Because go back and watch some of the early pride fights. They are silent in fighting. Like they'll watch something happen and then there's it's like almost a golf clap and then there's back to silence. It's very different from like a UFC crowd.
Yeah.
So I didn't know that actually.
Well, I remember, the World Cup, I think it was 2002 in Korea and Japan.
Football, they're big on, yeah.
Yeah,
they go
the crowd was crazy, and apparently they always synchronized and things like that in the crowd, and it was pretty odd. I saw a clip of it, and it's all these people just sitting in silence. Might as well not have a crowd and use the fake crowd noises, which I don't mind.
Exactly.
Yeah, a
We'll do
silent
both.
crowd's weird.
Yeah.
In more sports news, England stars Phil Foden and Mason Greenwood, the two soccer players, had an inside man help them smuggle 2 Icelandic girls into their hotel.
Yeah.
What?
So
So they had like a guy help sneak in some girls to their hotel.
I think he worked at the hotel.
yeah.
Are these guys still stuck in like a
Well, so-
sporting bubble or something, are they?
No, so for context, Phil Foden, he's one of the hottest young talents from Manchester City. Mason Greenwood, probably the best young player at Manchester United. 2 future stars, got their England debut. England's gone to Iceland, and obviously, an international game. They're isolating in the hotel. These guys, first time on tour, these 2 youngsters, getting their dream shot, smuggling some girls. They put it on Snapchat.
Oh,
It's so
no.
funny. They're just sitting there. Mason Greenwood's on his phone like this, like so shy, and they got busted.
It's
And-
not professional.
They got kicked off the team.
What?
Yeah,
Really?
It's
Like
not
permanently?
professional, but you can understand it.
it's a
you know,
lesson.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
Young guys make mistakes and
It happened in the NBA as well. Daniel House had to leave the bubble because he invited one of the
testers.
Yeah.
The COVID tester, he invited it in.
did she go in?
Yeah.
Wow.
So
That's pretty funny.
really funny.
That's I get it. It's not good, but I get it.
Yeah, first time on international duty.
We're only
like,
human.
Yeah,
They'll kick themselves forever.
yeah, just getting a taste of the footballer lifestyle. So yeah.
In other news, Curtis Scott, an NRL player, I believe, his arrest video was leaked recently, which we will link in the description. But it was pretty graphic. Police officers really going over the top and tasering him and pepper spraying him when he'd passed out under a tree near a local premises.
So he's drunk, passed out under a tree, and was actually asleep.
Yeah.
Police officers, I don't know if everyone's seen the footage, probably everyone has by now. They came up and sort of gave him a prod to see if he was awake, and he was sort of non-respondent or a bit like he was drunk and asleep.
Yeah.
So
Well, the funny thing is that the police alleged that he assaulted them, and they had to drop all charges against him once this video surfaced.
Because
you
the
know?
assault was they were grabbing him and he was just kind of like flicking their hands away.
They said that was trying to hit them. And
he didn't even know who it
No.
was that was grabbing them.
Exactly.
That was shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love
To say,
police body cams. The truth comes out.
Exactly.
And like, this is not a shot on police because I would hate to have that job. It'd be a tough
Yeah.
gig. And there's the vast majority of police officers are awesome,
Yeah.
but there's that bad element. There's that bad. I don't know. It comes through the United States having this problem at the moment. There's just that certain percentage that are either undertrained in these sort of certain scenarios, or that they have this power trip issue where they feel like they need to assert their authority over someone. But someone that's asleep under a tree, passed out, there is a way to move them on in a very diplomatic way. And that definitely didn't happen.
Yeah.
Did we find out what happened to the police officers?
I'm not too sure, but yeah,
Should lose their job.
sounds like a bad power trip. In the weekend, I saw a cop come to the rescue. Actually, the traffic lights went out and it was all chaos. This cop rocked up in this Chrysler 300C, just started pointing in all these directions, and I was like, this guy is like a magician. I was like, what is going on? It was like chaos, and then instantly it was like back to normal.
Yeah.
Cop saved the day.
That's great. Good on him.
This episode brought to you by the New South Wales Police Force.
Last one. Giannis Antetokounmpo has signed with the Golden State Warriors as of 5 minutes ago. This is huge news.
No ways.
This is huge.
No idea. You've lost me.
The NBA MVP.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think you're lying.
Yeah.
Well,
Was that to get Dhiren excited or something?
I forgot to.
well,
I actually printed it.
I can see the link over here. Gotcha / gullible.
You idiot.
But actually, he's potentially going to leave. He just unfollowed the Milwaukee Bucks and all of his teammates.
Really?
Hopefully he comes to Toronto, but we'll see.
Chasing that cash.
Miami, that would be huge.
Wherever he goes, it's going to be huge. So
It would be the same as Kevin Durant going to Golden State Warriors.
Pretty
He's
much.
going to the team that beat him in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Do we have a famous athlete quote? Speaking of famous athletes.
Oh, we do. I got a good one. I reckon you'll like. Everyone has a plan till they get punched in the mouth.
Mike Tyson.
Yeah.
One of
There
my
you go.
What a
favorite
difficult
quotes
one.
of all time.
Mike Tyson's got a fight coming up soon.
Yeah, against Roy Jones.
Exhibition match. Roy Jones Jr. in November.
Yeah,
That'd be interesting.
I'm excited. I love Roy Jones.
I like both of them. I hope they go for it.
Yeah.
They're both looking sharp. I've watched some training footage, but
Gonna be cool to hear those walkout songs, Obviously, Bobby Knuckles and Robert Whittaker uses the Roy Jones Jr. walkout song.
yeah.
And, Tupac recorded the Mike Tyson walkout song, so it's gonna be pretty
One of
epic.
your
It'd be
favorites.
insane.
Yeah.
They're looking very good for sort of 50-year-old men. I don't know if it's drug tested or not as an exhibition match, but
Yeah.
I'd say
Who
it's
cares?
not. Yeah, who cares?
Well, Tyson's gone, full vegetarian for it, so it'll be interesting to see.
I thought he got back on fish and stuff. I was listening to a podcast with him the other day.
Yeah, I think he went vegan for a while and he switched to vegetarian now, so he's allowing some dairy. And
Maybe it's like octo-lacto.
yeah.
No, he's on Rogan the other day and said he just felt terrible on a vegetarian diet. So he's gone back in with a whole heap of elk meat
Wow.
and organic meats.
Yeah, because he
Got all these. He's been getting all these blood tests, and apparently for his blood type,
Yeah.
he should be consuming for what he wants to do for sports performance. I think before he was doing it for health.
I
sort of
think
reasons.
it helped him lose a lot of weight because he was quite fat, and but for sports performance, he's probably gone back to what he tried and tested back in the day.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Have we got a?
We have a new game before you. Unless
Oh,
you
really?
Want to do the Musashi quote first.
What's the game? Give us the game.
Okay, lovely. So this is how it works. I'm going to give you each a list of several games that have occurred. I already have given you a list that are going to occur between now and the next podcast. You've each, without showing each other, chosen who you think is going to win each game.
So sporting games.
Yes,
Yep,
sporting
yep.
games. NRL, NFL, AFL, NBA, UFC, and EPL. Whoever chooses the most winning games gets to choose what the other one will do as a challenge for the next podcast.
Oh,
so
nice.
as an example, we've done the P45 where you only had to eat one, unfortunately, and Dhiren had to drink about 5 to 6 pre-workout shots.
Yeah, one P45. That was hardly a
think
punishment. That was a bit of a treat.
Lovely.
I focus so much not to interrupt, but I've interrupted all day today. So,
Yeah.
So-
all right. So we're giving our tips, and then we're
Exactly.
going to recap these tips next episode.
100%. So
Okay.
I'm going to read out one by one, and just tell me what you guys have put down, okay?
All right,
so
go.
First one, NRL on Saturday 19th, Rabbitohs versus Roosters.
I'm gonna go for the upset. I'm going Rabbitohs.
I'm going Roosters. I'll go with the safe bet.
Yeah,
Lovely.
Sonny Bull's back, looking good.
Yeah.
In AFL, Sydney Swans versus Geelong on Sunday the 20th.
I'm gonna go Sydney.
I'm going to go the Swans as well.
Yeah.
Nice. That's surprising. Swans are halfway down the ladder compared to Geelong. But anyway, in NBA...
Swans at home though.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. NBA, we have 2 games. First game, Celtics versus the Heat in the game 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals this Wednesday 16th.
I'll take the Celtics. I'll take the Celtics.
Yeah. I'm a Raptors fan, and the Celtics knocked us out, unfortunately. So I'm gonna have to go with the Celtics because that way the Raptors can say we lost to the best.
You're both going with Boston.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm going for Miami there.
Yeah.
I hope they win. Another one, NBA Nuggets versus Clippers, Game 7,
Ooh.
also on the same day, Wednesday 16th.
I'm gonna go Clippers. Kawhi. After that one-figure block, they had a couple of slips, but we'll see what's coming.
I got the Clippers as well.
Nice.
So far the only difference is the Rabbitohs Roosters. It could all hinge
True.
on this one game.
Yeah.
Very true.
Wow.
Yep.
In the EPL, Newcastle versus Brighton, our own Matty Ryan on Sunday the 20th.
Conflicted here?
Not conflicted, Newcastle ruined my multi-bet over the weekend, so I'm going to go Brighton. I think Brighton's going to do pretty well. They signed Adam Lallana. I'm picking a 1-0 victory. Matty Ryan to keep a clean sheet. We'll see.
Yeah, I can't go against our boy Matty Ryan.
Nice.
Musashi athlete.
Fair enough. Another EPL, we have Chelsea versus Liverpool on Monday the 21st.
Liverpool.
I'm going to say it's going to be a draw, Liverpool's looking good, but Chelsea just bought all of these new players. Splashed the cash. Obviously, last year, they had a ban on transfers, so the billionaire owner was like, let's buy everybody this year. So they just bought 6 of the best players, and we'll see how this new look Chelsea goes, but I'm picking a draw.
Might take a while for them to gel together.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go the safe bet with Liverpool.
Fair enough. And last match is in the UFC, Covington versus Woodley, Sunday 20th.
Can't wait for this fight.
Too excited for this. I'm going to go with the chosen one, Tyrone Woodley.
I'm going to go Covington.
Ooh.
Yeah, nice.
I know people hate him. I get the shtick and I get his sort of marketing himself, but I think he's an awesome fighter. I think where he's going to give Woodley fits, if he can get through the first 1 or 2 rounds, Covington's cardio is on another level compared to Woodley's. It's something Woodley has always struggled with. And I think Woodley in recent fights has struggled to let his hands go to conserve energy. Yeah. And that's something Covington doesn't worry about. He'll just go and go and go and go.
And I think, why I'm picking Woodley is, if you watch the last 2 fights, there's almost something holding him back. And I feel, he kind of maybe lost the spark. But if there's one guy who's going to bring the spark back, it's going to be Covington. These two hate each other.
They do.
And, Woodley packs a lot of muscle, packs a lot of power, a lot of speed. So
should be interesting.
We'll see.
Yep.
Nice. So very good. We have of these 7 games, we have 3 where you've both chosen opposite outcomes. So we'll recap all 7 games or matches in the next podcast.
Oh, I've got to think of a challenge as well because I know I'm going to win.
Nice.
What have we got now, Hal?
Musashi quote.
Oh, Musashi
Yeah,
quote.
let's
Hang on.
Let's get into the zone.
I need to bring up my...
I'll introduce the quotes. So, in Miyamoto Musashi's famous book, The Book of 5 Rings, there's, the 5 rings, the Book of Earth, the Book of Water, the Book of Fire, the Book of Wind, and the Book of the Void.
The Void?
Yeah, so this quote is about the void. What I call the void is where nothing exists. It is about things outside man's knowledge. Of course, the void does not exist. By knowing what exists, you can know that which does not exist. That is the void. So
I'm so lost.
The void is the great unknown, and Miyamoto Musashi always talks about it. And the reason why I chose this quote is because sleep is the great unknown.
It is. No one really knows why we need... We sort of know why we need to sleep.
Yeah.
We don't really understand what goes on while we're asleep.
And why is 8 hours the magic number?
Yeah. So why is 8 hours the magic number? I'm going to turn that off. That's distracting.
But yeah, it's the void, and what this quote means is, the only way to understand that which is unknown is to know about everything else. Because, there are things that we can't know. We can't really know what happens in our dreams, for now. So, we just have to know what dreams are, this heat from a light bulb, and that's the best we can do.
Elon Musk is onto it. As soon as we get these Neuralink chips in the back of our head, we'll understand it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm keen.
If you guys, here's a quick question to finish up. If you had the choice between being able to, sleeping and not sleeping, what would you choose? If we didn't need sleep, would you prefer that, or do you actually enjoy sleeping?
Oh, if you could function, you happy? Yeah, no sleep.
Have you watched Die Another Day, the James Bond movie where the villain reduces his need to sleep by wearing the special mask? Well, he says he's super productive and he doesn't sleep because he uses this crazy thing. I was like, yeah, man, I could be this villain for sure.
Well, we've established that you're
I'm
pretty much a
I'm
serial killer.
Psycho villain. So.
Sleep with socks on.
Yep.
Pre-workout at night.
Yep, just socks.
And now
the bass.
All right. Well, anyone's got any listener questions, submit them via Instagram, Facebook, or podcast@musashi.com. Please leave a review. We are available on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, everywhere where good audio podcasts are distributed. So, until next episode, Thanks for listening.
That's it. Musashi out. Sleep well.
Good night.